David Stockdale here, 1-3, from Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome along to the latest edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, which seems to be the way I now introduce the show. I'm not counting anymore, and the latest edition seems to work. With myself, Colin, I rarely introduce who I am, and Bob as well.
Hello, yes.
On the Wycombe Wanderers Show this week, we'll be looking back at the FA Cup first round tie at Hartlepool, which you were at.
Yes, I was at the Hartlepool game. We will also be reviewing the loss to Burton Albion. 5-0 it was, yes. Well done if you survived all the way until the very end. We'll also be chatting about the fact that we could be playing Lincoln City in the second round of the FA Cup. We will be looking forward to the Wycombe Wanderers women's fixture this coming weekend. It's a little bit of a special one.
Yes, even more W's in that sentence could have been.
Indeed, yes.
And also, we catch up with Henry Deacon, who you might recall did some fantastic commentary of the pre-season friendly against Leicester, and also does a lot of work with Express FM in Portsmouth. So we'll be previewing Pompey with him, going for more alliteration there. And in our ex-player slot, we'll be, if we call it that, we'll be chatting to former forward Tim Langford. Very much looking forward to catching up with him. Of course, played under Martin O'Neill, and producer Luke reminded me that it was a year ago this week that we had Martin O'Neill on the show.
And you spoke to Gareth Ainsworth as well earlier on today, previewing, obviously, the game against Portsmouth.
Yes, all that to come in the next hour, plus occasional mentions of Turkey.
Indeed, yes. That's this week's specialist subject. See how many mentions we can get of Turkey.
If people do tune in late, they might not get there.
Indeed, yes. Or if you're listening on the podcast, you'll have no idea why
I enjoyed the Wycombe Wanderers show this week, but I couldn't really understand the persistent mention of Turkey.
Yes, well, people have said that about battery-operated trousers and dog leads and all sorts of other things in Season 2. You know, they said, Season 1 was very good, but Season 2 it got a bit surreal and bizarre.
That's what they want. The surreal.
Yes.
You don't get that anywhere.
Bob going rogue, I think it's known as.
Tell us about your trip to Hartlepool, please.
So yes, up to Hartlepool I went. It's a long way, Hartlepool. It's further than Middlesbrough. Not quite as bad as when we played Sunderland. And also, as you're travelling up north, the thing that always surprises me, particularly once you get to a place like Hartlepool, is you still see signs for the north. And you think, well, goodness me, how much more north do you want?
This is the north, surely.
Exactly. You know, we've travelled 5 hours in the car and it's still saying the north up there. And it's like, surely that's Scotland. Anyway, the game itself was pretty much a non-event for the first 44 minutes. I think probably both sides felt that. But then it got slightly more interesting for Hartlepool because they did score just before half-time, and you were slightly thinking, oh goodness me, again we've come all the way up to the north, and yes, we're going to see us rather meekly going out of the FA Cup. However, the second half actually was much better. Chris Ferrigno getting his first Wycombe Wanderers goal, and then a very entertaining penalty incident regarding the Hartlepool goalkeeper, who couldn't really work out what on earth he'd done to concede a penalty, which was eventually converted by Joe Jacobson. Hartlepool had gone 2-1 ahead in between those two incidents, but fantastic that JJ managed to get us back into the tie, meaning that we were in the hat for Monday's draw when we came out against Lincoln City. So another trip up, not quite as far as Hartlepool, but another trip up to the east, as it were.
Did it feel like a really good sort of cup tie as well, of course, because we didn't experience the first round last year?
No, that's true. And yes, it did. I mean, there were a lot of Hartlepool fans there. Slightly controversially, I would say that probably it was the worst reaction I've seen for quite some time to us taking the knee. No Hartlepool players took the knee at all. And I would say that it was only a minority, admittedly, but quite a sizable minority of Hartlepool fans expressed their displeasure about the fact that we took the knee, which, as I say, I haven't actually noticed anywhere else so far this season. But yeah, it did feel very much like a cup tie. The Hartlepool fans very much got behind their side, particularly once they went 1-0 up. And the second half, actually, it was a cracking atmosphere. There weren't loads of Wycombe fans there, probably unsurprisingly, but the fans that were there did make quite a lot of noise. And yeah, it was a decent old-fashioned sort of, particularly in the second half, blood and thunder type game, where you definitely thought actually neither side really really probably want a replay, and in some ways that makes it all the more entertaining the closer it gets to full time. But and you know, unsurprisingly, nobody actually managed to find the net in the last few minutes. So we play at Adams Park again next Tuesday night.
Manager Gareth Ainsworth spoke to Matt after the game, and a warning: it does get quite windy at times.
Character for the boys is just immense, you know, coming from 1 down and then 2-1 down. We've got a great spirit here, as always. It's a tough place, you know. I don't think Hartlepool was an easy place to come. We're missing a few players. Taffazoli, Grimace, Stewart, you know, 3 rock-solid defenders there, big lads. Hakim Fermer, obviously we've got to look after him at his age. And you know, it's David Stockdale due to illness. So, I mean, we are a little bit depleted, but I thought the boys were really good. You know, I thought they never got worried and panicked. They always kept going and kept driving. I think, you know, we've had the best chances of the game, you know, with the shots. But they had some good chances as well, you know. Second half, they scored with their first goal, shot on target first half. Second half, I thought there was a couple of hairy moments for us, but you're going to get that with the debutant centre-half, you know, who, by the way, I thought did fantastic. I think it's a great debutant centre-half, you know, to come in and score and get the penalty, which is rightful for me. I think he's been smashed after he's the header. It's brilliant to see these young boys coming through now and playing a part in what was, like you say, a great cup tie. Anyone who wants to think that we should have come away with an easy win or wants their head checking, because we did this. We were doing this to teams 3-4 years ago. But we're not this almighty, great, fantastic side now just because we had that loss in the Championship. Yes, I've got a good chance, and yes, we're no longer the way we were. But you come to places like this on a cup day, you're going to be up against it. You know, they want to turn us over. We're in the Championship last year. They were in the conference, and that's cup football. That's how good it is, and that's why I love this trophy. You know, as I say, I'll never belittle this cup. I've put the strongest team I possibly could out with the players I had. You know, I think we've got to make sure now the legs are going to be right. We were looking at maybe the Pompey game not even being on and a little bit of a break, but it's going to be full blast on games now. I'd just like to mention the fans who've made this trip, because I know it's a long way, and they've seen a good performance. They've seen goals at their end, which I'm really pleased about. And also I mentioned the Hartlepool fans. It's great, you know, that's cup football, and they got behind their team all game and made it the occasion it was. I'm proud to have come away with us in the hat tomorrow. That was always the aim, or one day, whenever it is. But we've got to do the job at Adams Park now against this team, because they'll come down and they'll fight and they'll scrap and they'll want to turn us over. There was no shock last night, and I was a bit worried. I thought, you know, there's no cup upset last night on the TV. We don't want to be the one today. I don't know the results. I don't know if there has been any, but it wasn't us, and that's the main thing.
Big run of home games now with Burton Tuesday, some big league games coming up, the replay sandwiched in there as well. After Tuesday's disappointment, the boys have to relish in the challenge now of getting a winning run back together.
Yeah, listen, that's a positive for me. That's a positive today, without a doubt. You know, you end up with the game with Chris Farina, TJ DeBar on the pitch. You know, we've rested a few legs. That's great. Like I say, hopefully the injuries will clear up for next weekend for the Pompey game, because that'll be a tough one. Getting back to winning ways is important. You know, we've got this Papa John's on Tuesday against Burton, which I really want to give minutes to our youngsters, that you can see what that can do for them. There's some rules in place, which means we may have to adhere to.
And then shortly afterwards, Gareth and Matt blew away.
I have to say, actually, it was very windy up there, but that interview made it sound more windy than it actually was.
It sounds like a very bad camping trip, doesn't it? Just on
It really does, yeah. Oh, goodness me, you wouldn't go to Hartlepool sort of like for a Butlins type weekend. And also, I was disappointed there was a lack of seagulls, because there were quite a lot of seagulls flying around as well during the game. I was hoping that maybe they might make an appearance in the Gareth interview.
Perhaps they left early.
Yeah, well, possibly they did. And I was really surprised, and I'm pleased that Gareth mentioned the fans, because it was very impressive how many Wycombe fans were there. I was just surprised. After about 80 minutes, I noticed 6 Wycombe fans leaving. And, you know, like one person leaving, you might think, oh, well, maybe, I don't know, they had something to go and do or whatever. 6 of them leaving, I was quite surprised. Actually, you presume that they're not particularly local, because they were in the Wycombe end and they were wearing Wycombe scarves. And you just wonder that they've travelled 5 hours up in the car or on the coach. Why are they going early, particularly when the game's at 2:00? I don't understand the going early thing.
Do you think they had another appointment? So they had something else booked, they had a table booked or something, or another attraction to go to in Hartlepool at that time?
Well, possibly, but I can't really think what that would be. I understand people leaving early on Tuesday night, but on Saturday afternoon, where, when it was a cracking cup tie in the second half, I was a bit surprised. And you just think, do they do that normally in normal life? Do they go to the cinema and then actually leave early? do they not know? Sorry, spoiler alert coming up. That say Luke Skywalker is Darth Vader's son because they left far too early.
Oh, it gets covered on this show, doesn't it? What a cultural experience this is. No. Yeah, so Bob's tip, don't leave early from games or films.
Snow White just sits there with the seven dwarfs and hangs out with them, and that's it, at the end. I don't know. I just always find it weird when people leave early, particularly in games where it is quite exciting.
Eats an apple, no problem.
Yeah. Cheerio. Or do they leave like concerts as well? That's the other thing I was wondering.
Yeah, maybe. He doesn't stay for the encore. A lot of people don't, do they?
Yeah, exactly. The band says, thank you very much, good night, and everyone else stays, but they think, it's over now. Yeah. Better go.
Yeah. Good mentions for TJ DeBar and Chris Farino. Chris Farino was made captain, of course, on Tuesday night against Burton.
Yeah. And I was pleased he mentioned TJ DeBar, but I was slightly surprised as well, because TJ DeBar came on quite late, and I'd absolutely love to see TJ DeBar playing a lot, because he really tries and he's really fast, and it would just be quite entertaining to see him be given a decent run out. I appreciate he couldn't obviously play on Tuesday night because he's now, with the Gibraltar squad. But yeah, it would be really nice, Gareth, if you do listen to the Wycombe Wanderers show, and I'm not expecting you to take tips from me, but it would be great to see TJ DeBar play a bit more.
And also, I think what we didn't really hear because of the conditions, but Gareth was saying that he was hoping to play a lot more young players, but there are certain rules with regard to the EFL trophy or Papa John's trophy.
Yes, because somebody got fined, didn't they, this week? I think even more bizarrely, it was one of the under-23, under-21, whoever, academy sides or something.
Yeah, West Ham.
Yes, yeah. And you just think, that's, it's a bit strange. As if the competition could be slightly corrupted by, playing either, underage, overage, wombling free. I have no idea.
So it must have felt a bit strange, because obviously the Ipswich game attracted a crowd of 6,943, whereas the tie which we're talking about amassed 593.
Yes, and that was said a lot by people. That was the common topic of conversation as people were going in on Tuesday. Was sort of like, oh wow, it was nice and easy to park, wasn't it? Not many people here. Yes, it definitely did feel a bit like we were all rattling around in Adams Park, but that was okay. Obviously it's a dead rubber. I always wonder what the derivation of dead rubber is. Well, you don't say if it's a normal game, it's a rubber. So why are you calling that game a dead rubber? But yeah, I don't think any of us really saw the 5 goals coming, particularly. Particularly in the first half, I thought Wycombe did okay, but probably were still slightly the better side. And of course, it was our old friend Aaron Amadi Holloway scoring a hat-trick. For Burton, which is, he only scored 6 goals in his Wycombe career. So quite impressive that he came back to Adams Park and managed to score 3.
And were there any of the young Chairboys who particularly stood out for you in the game?
I mean, it's difficult to say in that sort of game, to be honest. You definitely noticed in the first half Brandon Hanlon and Jordan Abita, because they were obviously the two that did stand out. But clearly, they came off at half time because obviously they'd played the game on Saturday. It was interesting to see some of the players. In particular, Adam Leathers, of course, was playing. I did try and start a chant with Leathers, but nobody really particularly joined in, which I was slightly disappointed about. Chris Farino definitely does look like, he is going to be a very, very good find. And as you say, it was fantastic that actually he was made captain.
Yeah, no, very good. Perhaps you can attempt your chant each week on the show. It might catch on.
Yeah, I think so. Leathers, and see if anyone joins in.
They won't. Let's catch up with literally a few words from the manager speaking after that 5-0 defeat to Burton in the final group game of the EFL trophy, or Papa John's trophy.
There's a few players there that we have to be careful with, and make sure it's not too big a whack tonight. Guide them in the right direction, get them, get them doing things that will get them professional football careers, and that's not easy. It's about the person as well as the guidance. But we'll see. Plenty to learn, plenty to work on. But again, I've got some good boys in that group, and I'm sure they've learnt a lot tonight.
Does it sound perhaps from those comments that perhaps people didn't make the most of their opportunity?
Possibly. Yes, maybe it does. A couple of other things to mention about the game was that one of Burton's goals was a Joe Jacobson special direct from a corner, which, you don't see very often against Wycombe. There was a fight before half-time, which was quite entertaining. You know how games are, where actually they're always enlivened by things like a fight.
All of a sudden a football match broke out.
Yeah, indeed. And also I was quite impressed by a couple of the Burton players' names. So one was called Blake Tracy, who I thought very much sounded like a superhero. And his sidekick would be Borthwick Jackson, who also played for Burton on Tuesday night.
Fantastic. What was the fight over very quickly, or?
It didn't, it didn't develop. And the referee actually chose not to do anything at all, which I thought, even though we were obviously all baying for Burton blood, as it were, actually was quite a sensible decision, because it was very much a sort of a handbags, if you're still allowed to say that term. And yeah, the fact that the referee just thought, do you know what? I can't be bothered.
Just hand out some of the sponsors' product and get on with it. That's what they do. Yeah. Yeah. Still to come on this week's Wycombe Wanderers show, we'll catch up with former forward Tim Langford. We'll hear from Henry Deacon as well to look ahead to the Portsmouth game. And still to come, more from manager Gareth Ainsworth, but without the wind, here at Wycombe Sound.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on tonight's Wycombe Wanderers show, we will be hearing from Henry Deacon, who is one of the commentators at Portsmouth-based Express FM. He will be giving his opinion about Saturday's opposition.
Also, we'll preview Wycombe Wanderers Women's Weekend. I don't think there's any more W's you can fit into that. Apparently it's Women's Football Weekend this weekend.
Wycombe Wanderers Women's Football Weekend.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Yeah. But first, many thanks indeed to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, who have put us in touch with many an ex-player and manager, and even local sport editor as well. But this week we've been catching up with Tim Langford, who of course signed in March 1993. A very memorable occasion for him.
I think I'd been to Wycombe, I think, 2 previous times as a Telford player. When I think first time I came, we got hammered. I think it may have been 6-0, 6-1 possibly, and then the season after, I think it again may have been 3 or 4-0. So I think at the time, Wycombe was sort of the in team. They've got this new stadium, and were one of the top teams in the conference. And I think Martin had sort of looked at my career previously, even when he was at Grantham, and I was playing for a different team, and sort of kept an eye on me. And then, I guess out the blue, I received a phone call at home, see if I was interested, and it sort of went from there. And then I met Martin in the March, I think, of '93, in a hotel in Warsaw, and we had a discussion. Signed there and then, and I think I made my debut on the Saturday against Farnborough in the season that we eventually won the conference and obviously got promoted.
I mean, that must have been such a special time, but also you must have felt that you fitted in so well with your style of play as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, obviously I'd played against some of the lads previously, and as I say, it was a case of the camaraderie and the team spirit that team had that probably, drove them to success in non-league, and then eventually success in in the football league as well. As you say, sort of fitted in with the style of play, very attacking, scored plenty of goals, kind of thing, and sort of had a free rein to do what I was probably best at when I initially came.
And a real step up for all the players, obviously, and getting sort of going full time from only being sort of part time previously in the conference.
Yeah, and I think that really played a big part in, people wanting to do well, knowing what it was like to do a proper sort of, 9-to-5 job as it was then, and prove people wrong and obviously prove to themselves that they were capable of, of making that step up. you know, and I can't remember when the time was, but, you know, I don't think that, you know, automatic promotion from the conference back into the Football League had been, you know, instilled that many years prior, you know, so we were sort of, you know, one of the early ones to get promoted. And if I remember rightly, that season, it was nearly probably December before we actually got beaten when we were playing away from Adams Park. I think we were one of the last teams in the whole of the Football League to lose an away game, if I remember rightly, and that was down to, as I say, the team spirit and the togetherness of the whole of the squad.
Did you think you were really part of something special? Because I think, as you say, in that season, I think that you were on a really long unbeaten run.
Yeah, I think that, you know, we wanted to pit our wits against, you know, people who had been full-time for a period of time. We'd made that step up. You're going into the unknown, even just in relation to fitness, never mind, you know, technique and ability kind of thing. You know, but we, as I say, I think what we may have lacked in any ability, we definitely gave in grit and determination, team spirit and, you know, and togetherness. And in the end of that season, obviously, we finished in the playoff positions. And, you know, it was a benefit to everything the hard work that all the players had put in that time.
And are there any special games or particular moments that really stand out during your time at the club? Ahead of our chat, I revisited a particular game against Doncaster in which you scored, and Jason Cousins committed.
Yeah, that was I think probably more infamous for something else rather than me scoring. But yeah, I mean, I guess that there was a couple of non-league games. I think the Slough game away, where I think I scored my first goal. You know, stands out. And then I think when we actually won promotion, I think it might have been on a night game against Runcorn or Altrincham or something at Adams Park. It was rammed, and I think we won 3 or 4-0. So there are a couple of non-league games, and then I think the Preston game away in that first season when they're on the artificial pitch, and I think at the time there was us, Preston, and maybe Shrewsbury, I think, who were sort of up there and hadn't lost a game or many games. And I think the week before, Preston had given Shrewsbury a bit of a good hiding. We'd gone up there. I think Keith Scott had left to go to Swindon. And then we came away with a 3-2 victory with a last-minute screamer from Hakan from about 30-40 yards. The atmosphere in the dressing room after that game was pretty special. And then obviously we got the Fulham game at Craven Cottage in I don't know if it was the quarter-final or the semi-final of the old Autoglass Trophy that went to, I think it went to extra time and penalties when we won on penalties. So that was a couple of games, you know, that probably stand out. Disappointingly, I wasn't in the starting 11 for any of the playoff games. And the season I joined, we got to Wembley in the FA Trophy, but I was already cup-tied. So we got to Wembley, I guess, 2 years running, and unfortunately didn't play in either of them.
And looking back, does it feel like a really special group of players that you had? We were talking just now about how you're still in touch with a number of them today.
Yeah, I think there was the nucleus, wasn't there, of the team, and then Martin would bring in, I guess, like he did with me. He brought in Simon Garner, and then he brought in Lee Turnbull, Tony Hemmings in that first season, and after, you know, Cyril, Steve Brown and Mickey Bell came in, and Gary Patterson. So there was always a nucleus, I think, of the core of players that had gone from sort of the non-league 11 into the squad that went into, you know, Division 3 and then into Division 2.
And what was it like playing under Martin? You said that he'd sort of tracked your career previously as well, which must be nice to think that, you know, he's brought you to the club after keeping an eye on you as well.
Yeah, Martin was a great motivator, I think, of players, and there was definitely a different atmosphere on the training ground when he showed up to when, you know, just Paul Franklin or Steve Walford took the training. The atmosphere had changed straight away. But yeah, he was a great motivator, and he really believed in players getting the rest, you know, and because I suppose that first season we were doing reasonably well. We were playing Saturdays, Tuesdays, and we'd advanced like in the Autoglass, and we'd advanced, I think, in the Coca-Cola Cup. So it was important that sometimes we'd probably get a couple of days off a week just to rest, and then we'd be back in on a Friday and playing a lot of five-a-sides and non-contact stuff. So it certainly benefited the players, and obviously he was great for Wycombe, and it obviously shot his career into better things at a later date.
And really great support as well, some great crowds and a great atmosphere at Adams Park for the home games.
Brilliant, yeah. I mean, you can't fault it, and they always got behind the teams. I mean, there wasn't many occasions, except for probably I can remember the Colchester home game where we sort of took a bit of a beating at home. Most of the time, we were there or thereabouts with the result. But the crowd was good, and as I say, they always got behind us. And you'd go to some teams, especially as I say in a non-league basis, and you'd get a couple of hundred, and you come to Wycombe and you're talking of like 4,000 or 5,000, and that just continued straight into the Football League. And I guess when you're doing well, then you just attract more supporters.
And it sounds like overall your reflections of your time at the club are just really happy and great to have those memories.
Yeah, obviously, the second season when my son was diagnosed with leukemia was quite traumatic, and it was it definitely affected my game and the way the perception of life, I guess, and the priority in life being not just football, but more of family. So that second season was really difficult, and at times I lived 100 miles bang on from the ground, so I'd be travelling 100 miles to training. As soon as I'd left training, I was going back to the Children's Hospital probably till 7 or 8 o'clock at night to sit with my wife and obviously my son. Come home and then do that same triangle again, kind of thing. And it was definitely tough when he was in hospital. But then I looked at the coming training kind of thing as a bit of a release, and obviously playing games. It was a release from the pressures of being stuck in Birmingham Children's Hospital, watching your son, going through what he went through. But definitely, as far as reflecting on my experiences at Wycombe, I wouldn't have changed anything. It was something that you look back on and think, well, if I hadn't have taken the opportunity, what if, and where would I have ended up? But no, I thoroughly enjoyed my time at Wycombe.
And as a fan as well, I think it's really interesting to get to hear sort of the behind-the-scenes stories. As you say, people perhaps don't necessarily appreciate the amount of travel that you did, and the fact that as players, when you're in the conference, you had other jobs as well, and as you say, going to training and turning up for the matches as well. And obviously in the non-league days, obviously a lot of the games were at quite far afield places.
Yeah, definitely so. And there was times even when I was at Telford, I'd have to pay a colleague of mine to do my shift, or I'd have to try and arrange holidays, or depending on what we're playing, the games that you play probably, against Dover away kind of thing, and you're probably going to go overnight, then, you have to make necessary arrangements for sort of work commitments. Luckily, I think when I came to Wycombe in the March kind of thing, there wasn't many times when I couldn't make the game, or I'd probably still got a holiday left that I could have Saturdays off and prepare properly for the game, and and then be able to give it my all when I did play.
Does it feel like a long time ago, or does it feel comparatively recent?
Well, it's interesting because my mum kept all the programmes from when I played, so it. I think when I look at it back, and I think. It's nearly 28 years, maybe. It doesn't seem that far ago. But then, obviously, I lost my son in 2000, and then I think that it's 21 years since I've seen him. It feels like a lifetime. So there's two comparables where the football 28 years ago doesn't seem too far back, but actually having a conversation with my son 21 years ago, and he was only 9 at the time, just seems a distant memory, and probably even further back than the 28 years of being at Wycombe.
Of course, and I guess for fans, we're really keen to know sort of what you did after your time at the club, and what you're up to these days as well.
Yeah, I went back to Telford, and unfortunately, I did my cruciate knee ligament. I think it was probably the second season I was there. I think it was like a pre-qualifier FA Cup, and I didn't get it repaired. And the physio who was treating me at the time, I'd got a lot of faith into him. He just said, like, as long as you keep your quads up, you'll be fine. Which I did do. I went back to Telford. I was there a couple of years, had a couple of run-ins with managers. Managers got sacked or got reinstalled into the team, etc. But after that, I think my knee sort of started to give me a bit of jip. I got released, played non-league football for a while, had a spell managing one team for six months or so, and then I got to a point when you get to an age where I'm thinking, well, I'm sitting on the bench, earning probably 20, 30 quid for sitting on the bench when I could probably spend more time with my family. And in the end, I think I probably packed up when I was, 36, 37 maybe. But when I left Wycombe, obviously the Royal Mail had kept my job open for me, so I just went back to my job, and I'm still employed by Royal Mail now, although it's sort of classed as one of the senior managers in the West Midlands. That it's been good for me as far as just being able to drop back into the employment that I knew, and I appreciate the Royal Mail for doing that.
No, that's fantastic. And when Wycombe got promoted to the Championship, did it really kind of reflect on the time of promotion during your day, and felt that you kind of played a part in sort of laying the foundations for that?
Yeah, definitely so. And I also remember the time where they survived on the last day of the season of being relegated back into the non-league pyramid, because I think, if I remember rightly, I was the person who scored the last non-league goal for Wycombe, which I think was at Stafford Rangers before we got promoted. So obviously, if Wycombe had got relegated back into the conference, that sort of record would have gone. So I was glad to see they survived, and then obviously really, brilliant that they got promoted into the Championship. And to be honest with you, I don't think the Football League did them any favours with the Derby situation, and they should still be there now. But hopefully the position they're in the league, they've still got a fighting chance of getting back into the Championship next season.
No, definitely. It's so nice for you to have that record as well, to sort of look back on and have as your own.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think from what somebody told me, it did come up in one of the quizzes from at Wycombe a few years back.
Oh, that's quite nice to be the answer of a quiz question.
Yeah, true.
Really nice to catch up with Tim Langford, and really nice for him to have that sort of accolade, as I say, just to be the last person to score for the club in non-league.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good quiz question as well. Really interested to hear as well him talk about the fact that he came from Telford United, who, as older listeners will remember, used to be one of those clubs very much like ourselves, knocking on the door of the Football League, and you thought, one of these days they'll become a Football League club. And it just made me think how lucky we are actually to be in the situation that we are, because so many of those clubs that were alongside us back in the Isthmian days and then in the Vauxhall Conference days, who didn't actually make it to the Football League, and Telford were one of them, and have clearly been through so many hard times, and actually ended up going bankrupt and are now AFC Telford United. And you think, well, goodness me, we must appreciate still where we are, and how lucky we are to be in League One and to be a league club.
And he must have been very highly thought of in Telford as well, because he was saying that he did a radio interview for a station in Telford as well about 8 months ago. Yes,
yeah, definitely. And very still very highly thought of here as well.
Absolutely. Great to chat to him. Coming up very soon, we'll be previewing the Portsmouth game and hearing from manager Gareth Ainsworth as well. But first, a bit of a look ahead to the Wycombe Wanderers women action this weekend.
Yeah, so Wycombe Wanderers women's first team didn't actually play on Sunday. Their game was postponed. They were due to be playing Ascot United. This coming weekend, apparently, is Women's Football Weekend, and all three sides are actually playing of Wycombe Wanderers women. So the under-18s have a top-of-the-table clash when they go to Abingdon Town. The reserves, who won 8-0 at the weekend, go to Eversley and California Reserves in the Bucks and Bucks Cup. And the first team go the short distance up at the M40 to play Oxford City. That is a 3 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. So go along and get involved in Women's Football Weekend.
Yeah, we do wish all the best. Any team with California in its name just sounds more glamorous, doesn't it?
Always sounds slightly strange, indeed. But yes, the reserves definitely doing rather well at the minute. An 8-0 win, that's not bad at all. Making up for the fact that the first team is still struggling, but the thing is that Oxford City is struggling as well. So a slightly vital game at the bottom of the table for the first team on Sunday.
Yes, we wish them all the best for that women's weekend as well. And we'll be keeping you up to date with how Wycombe Wanderers women are getting on, speaking to their manager as well, Dave Ward, in the coming weeks here at Wycombe Sound.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Final part of the Wycombe Wanderers show still to come. We'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth looking ahead to the visit of Portsmouth, also reflecting a little on very little on the cup games that we've experienced, and also talking briefly about his nomination for Manager of the Month for October, the winner of which will be announced tomorrow morning, which is quite exciting.
A little bit of a surprise, given that we haven't actually won in 4 games.
No. Well, unbeaten in October, though.
Yes, that's true. Yes, okay. I'm not thinking actually that it's for them, if you see what I mean.
Yes, I think you're a bit half empty rather than half full there.
Yes, definitely.
Or perhaps more than half. I'm very pleased to say we can chat to Henry Deacon, who regular listeners will have known our very first show of the season was a pre-season friendly at home to Leicester City, and Henry very kindly did the commentary for us. And
very good job he did too.
Absolutely, yes. And as he said, not just a summer fling, we've got him back for the. Is this winter? Has winter started yet? I'm not sure. Are we still in autumn? I think it's still autumn, isn't it?
I'd be optimistic and say autumn, because winter sounds a bit dreary.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for speaking to us. Henry does stuff at Express FM in Portsmouth, is following Portsmouth quite a bit as well, so we thought, I mean Luke, thought it'd be brilliant to get him on, which is a fantastic idea. Luke's good idea of the year.
I thought it was a good idea as well. Yeah,
no, everyone thought it was a good idea. It's just we should give credit to Luke for having the idea.
Well done, Luke.
We all share his good. So Henry, it's interesting in a way, because obviously you saw Wycombe before the season started, and I think as well, fair to say, quite impressed with what you saw initially.
I was quite impressed with what I saw, and I think I've seen about 10 clubs in League One now, and I think out of the 10, 12 clubs I've seen, it's probably Wycombe and Plymouth that have probably been the two that in my mind have probably stood out so far. I think there's a lot of decent teams, but it'll be interesting to see how the top 2 comes up at the end of the season, because I think that at the moment there's 2 standout teams. I think there's teams that are on the periphery of turning good, and then there's some sides which are perhaps in false positions elsewhere, in the fact they've had a good start and perhaps could drop off later on. It's a really intriguing season, this one in League One.
It's strange, isn't it? It feels so tight as well, and teams nearer the bottom end of the table can. I mean, for Portsmouth, for example, we've seen they beat Sunderland, who were right at the top at the time, I think 4-0, and then conceded 4 goals in the next 2 games.
I mean, the 4-0 against Sunderland is perhaps one of the most bizarre fixtures I've ever been to. The game should never even have finished. I mean, the second half, the ball just wasn't moving. There was so much torrential downpour throughout the 90 minutes. The only time it stopped raining, ironically, was when the full-time whistle blew. You know, it was an absolute downpour of showers. The ball wasn't moving, and for some reason we pulled out an unbelievable performance. They just, I don't know, probably the conditions, it does throw up those odd weird results every now and then. Of course, they were top of the league at the time we played them, but then after that, conceding 4 goals consecutive games, and you wonder where the season's going. Huge meetings having to be had, obviously, with the manager and the players, and if it feels like there is a potential pickup, but there's just still something edging away at the back of the mind that's wondering, why hasn't it got started? Because it's not as if we haven't got the calibre of players, Portsmouth, to be high up in the league, but something at the moment just isn't clicking.
I guess it must be really hard to pinpoint as well what the reason behind such inconsistency is.
Exactly, because a lot of the players were players that were in and around the playoffs, got in the playoffs the last couple of years. Admittedly, the squad probably isn't as strong as the one which won the EFL trophy a couple of years ago at Wembley against Sunderland, but it's still a squad which should be more than competitive in League One. There's a manager in Danny Cowley who, everywhere he's gone, has got a very good track record, has come out of clubs, left them in a better state than he's come into. And I just don't know, something at the moment just isn't clicking. But then sometimes you see teams, don't you? And I think Reading are a great example when they got promoted about 8 or 9 years ago to the Premier League, where I think they were mid-table at Christmas and then just pulled together a miraculous run towards the end of the season and went on and got promoted. I'm not suggesting that's going to happen, but you sense of with the squad that you've got, I think there's going to have to be some ins and outs in January. But if they can get it together, that top half should be a minimum requirement for a club like Portsmouth. Pushing for the playoffs is probably what would make a very good year this year. But at the moment, it just looks unlikely the way things are going.
Henry, do you think it was the right decision to get rid of Kenny Jackett?
I think it's interesting because a lot of people, when the news came out about his departure, were very shocked. I think the fans at Pompey were probably for the last 12 months, probably since the playoff defeat against Sunderland, there was always a lot of heat on him. I thought for the first 6 or 7 months, very much unjustifiably. But as a manager, as you know, when results start to take a turn, as they did do towards the end of his reign in charge, and the fans aren't happy, ultimately there's only ever going to be one person responsible for that, and that's going to be the manager. I mean, Kenny did a brilliant job in the fact that he won us a trophy in the EFL trophy, playoffs, which is a very good track record. Sometimes as well, not with the biggest budget in the league. So he did a fairly good job, but it probably fell after that so long, and the way it was getting the animosity between the fans and the manager, perhaps the time was right for a change to be had. Danny Cowley came in with a lot of enthusiasm, fresh ideas. The fans really took to him, but he's hit the team have hit a bit of a rough spot. But I think he's the sort of manager, if he can turn things around, he'd be a very popular manager and a very popular team.
So where do you think Portsmouth's strengths will lie on Saturday?
Well, it's going to be interesting because I'd say the two best players in Gavin Bazuna and Joe Morrell will be missing because they're on international duty. And I think it's interesting because we've had this problem recently of we've conceded a lot of goals, but we haven't been scoring a lot of goals. So on that token, I'd say probably the midfield would be the area to look out for on Saturday. Up until recently, Lee Brown, left back, was our top goal scorer in the league. So it'll be interesting to see come Saturday because sometimes you just don't quite know what you're going to get. So sometimes predicting them, it feels like a little bit of a mugs game to a certain extent. But it'll be interesting to see with the two star players out missing because of internationals. We've got John Marquis, who is just having a barren time of it in front of goal. It'll be very interesting to see how we get on against, as I mentioned at the start of the programme, for me, one of the two standout sides in this division.
As someone who's never actually got a Wycombe Wanderers prediction correctly, you can sound, I completely agree with you about it being a mugs game.
No, definitely. And I've noticed Portsmouth have drawn quite a bit recently as well, so perhaps a draw might be something we might have to settle for.
Yeah, we've had more draws than DFS at the moment. But I think, to be honest, I think we would take the point away from home. I just think we need to build a bit of momentum. The EFL trophy result, as much as we thought we were going out because we needed a large swing of goals to go our way to go through, I think that's given us the sort of pick-me-up we didn't think we'd need, but actually may actually galvanise. This is one of those competitions where, and obviously you guys would have experienced it in midweek, that if you go out, you can kind of pull it to a side. It's not season defining. You focus on the league, but if you actually do well in the competition, it can actually give you that extra little bit of confidence you didn't expect you're going to get. So, we go in with that little bit of confidence. Struggled in the FA Cup a little bit last week against Harrow, but sometimes being the underdog against, I'm going to call you one of the bigger teams in this league, perhaps may fortune us, because I don't think there's many expectations of an away win, perhaps an away point, but in some ways that could work out for the better.
No, I really appreciate it, Tom. It's been great to chat to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the Wycombe Wanderers show this week, and enjoy the game, of course.
Will do. I'll be there Saturday in a press capacity, so I look forward to it. Hopefully speak to you again soon.
Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you very much, Ian. Thank you for calling us one of the biggest items.
Henry speaking to us here at Wycombe Sound ahead of the game against Portsmouth on Saturday. We've been speaking to manager Gareth Ainsworth as well. As mentioned, starting off with a bit of a congratulations on being nominated for the League One Manager of the Month for October.
We've been nominated, not me, and that's what I always say. We have, and if we keep doing that every month, that's 2 nominations we've had this season out of 2 months, and we can keep doing that. That's fantastic. So we are well up for cracking on and keep pushing forward. The award is fantastic to be nominated. I'm sure there's better and bigger managers that will deserve it, but we'll see what happens. It's a real accolade just to be nominated, and I'm surprised 1 or 2 of my players, especially Ryan Taffazoli, wasn't up for Player of the Month, because he's had a fantastic month, and the boys have really been delivering. So really, really pleased, Colin. But cracking on to Portsmouth, not going to let that distract me.
Of course. I was just going to ask, what's sort of pleased you most about what the team has achieved over that period? Because it's fantastic to have been unbeaten, and I know we've spoken about the way they've adapted, playing different formations, and how well organised the team has been as well. Yeah,
and that's it. Adaptability is really key here, and the boys have taken on everything I've asked them to do and done it well, and that's why we've got the month we've had. So, but we don't want to rest on our laurels. We want October to be even better, and November, and that's what we've got to do now. So, looking forward to cracking into November, but. Again, nice to look back and think we had a good unbeaten month.
And does it feel like preparations for the Portsmouth game is just a continuation after Ipswich, really, because of these 2 cup games, and obviously you've put out very different sides as well?
Yeah, it's tough, tough to know what's coming. It's tough to prepare in the right way with all the games coming up as well. Training's minimal, so the messages are really important in the game to the boys. But no, I'm really, really looking forward to what we can do against what is one of the pre-season favourites for the league. So they've started slow, but believe me, they'll be up and thereabouts without a shadow of a doubt. So we need to make sure we're on this, and so prep starts really today in a big way. And then we've got Hartlepool, Bolton, Plymouth, Sheffield Wednesday, Wimbledon, Bolton again. So it's chaos, it really is, with an FA Cup chucked in there if we beat Hartlepool. So there's a lot going on, but at the moment my only focus is Pompey and making sure that we've got a good starting 11 that will give us a chance in winning that game.
Are they a team which it's quite hard to know what to expect from, because they won 4-0 against Sunderland, didn't they? And then conceded 4 goals in the next 2 games.
Yeah, but I'd say that we're probably pretty similar. We beat teams, then we drew 3-3 at Fleetwood, then we get beat off Ipswich. So I think either team will be looking at each other thinking, right, what changes will there be, and if is there changes, So I think it's the boys on the day are going to be key, and how they perform, because there's only so much you can do, and it's about your signings, your recruitment in the summer, and your match-winning players. Danny's a good manager, and I'm sure he'll be picking up plenty of points, but I want to pick the points up on Saturday at home against, like I say, one of the pre-season favourites for the title. It's a real derby game. It's become over the years because they've been in the similar leagues, and I'm sure that we'll have a great atmosphere again.
I think it just goes to show, doesn't it, how tight the division is? Because I think as fans you're quite tempted to just look at the table and think teams from higher up are bound to be able to beat teams from lower down, but not really the case at all.
No, not at all. Look at Burton. I think have picked up some great points. Fleetwood, Doncaster seems to be coming now. The only team that seems to be struggling a little bit is Crewe at the moment, and I'm sure that David Artell will get it together. He's got a good player. He's got a casket there. We'll get him firing, and you never know what can happen. So, I mean, I'm very aware of how tight this league is. The Doncaster game was a tough game, and they were bottom of the league. The Rotherham game was a super tough game, and they're up the top of the league, or thereabouts. So it's a real tight league. There's not much in it. Minimal percentages in each team. There's no big winners and losers, and it's just a fantastically competitive division with some household names in from Premier Leagues gone by. There's about 7 teams who've been in the Premier League in this division. That was fantastic for English football.
And I sure you get asked a lot, but have these 2 cup games come at quite a good time because you've been able to rest certain players, or has it been a bit of a distraction in terms of a lack of momentum?
Yeah, there was no resting really. It was they're all done for reasons. I don't ever dismiss the FA Cup as a resting chance. I really don't. We put the best team we could have put out last week. Maybe Brandon Hanlon on the bench. was the one. Josh Scowen had an ankle knock. Tafazoli and Grimmy were both out with injuries. So, McCleary was out with his injury. So there was no rotation really. It was our best team. So I'll always put the best team out in the games. Tuesday obviously was a chance for the development boys to show what they can do in a first team fixture, which that game didn't have any bearing on the result. Well, the result, of course, I want to win, and the result tells me that we weren't good enough on that night. But there was no cup run from that game. So yeah, it's again, strongest team will be out on Saturday without a doubt to what I think should be the team to beat Portsmouth. So yeah, it's great to have a real big squad to choose from. We've got a couple of internationals away, obviously, but we're desperate to get this game on because I think we can continue our superb home form, which is 6 wins and 1 defeat.
I was going to say, with the Cup replay now, it really feels like you've got a run of home games coming up and a great opportunity for people to come out and support the team. Yeah,
on first team fixtures, the next 3 are at home, and we're going to make sure that we're properly on this because we like playing at home. We know how we play at home. We relish Adams Park, and the fans have just been fantastic from day one, and we need to make sure that we get back to fortress status at Adams Park. And it's been some real entertaining games, but I'll take a 1-0 any day, I'll tell you that. So it's going to be interesting Saturday. I'm sure the Cali Billies will come with a strong team and the plan to beat us. But likewise, we'll counter that, and we'll try and get the boys flying.
And you must be so pleased as well with how the team has started recent games, going ahead early as well. I guess that'll be something that you'll be looking to continue on Saturday.
Always, yeah. We always start well. The boys have got energy, they're really up for it every game, and we do score early, even against Ipswich. I thought for 25 minutes we were very good. Sunderland away again, I still say one of our good performances in that first half. But we're going to make sure we capitalise and stay in front if we do get in front. And also, like the Morecambe game, if we do go behind, we have the character to come and turn it round again. And Hartlepool as well, great character by the boys. So we know we can play in any condition, in any situation. We know what we've got. It's just about the consistency over the season. One game doesn't make a season, but 6, 7, 8 games and on the spin, they do start having a bearing on your season. So I want to get back to winning ways as soon as I can.
And just finally, I know you don't like to look too far out, but a week today, you'll be playing live in the town. That must be something you're really looking forward to.
Yeah, I don't mind looking ahead on music. So yeah, got an upcoming gig. Privileged to be involved in turning the Christmas lights on and playing a few Christmas songs, which isn't really my bag, but we'll work them up somehow, and hopefully there'll be plenty of people down the town to really embrace the town itself. It's a fantastic place, and also what the football club has done and risen the profile of everything. So, no, really looking forward to seeing a few of the Wycombe people on next Thursday. Win, lose or draw next 2 games, I'm sure they'll turn out, but I'm hoping it's a couple of wins.
I really do like the idea of rocked up Christmas songs.
Definitely, and I could really see Gareth Ainsworth doing a fantastic noddy holder.
Absolutely, with a Christmas jumper. Yeah,
and I'm sure Gareth will be fantastic at doing that "It's Christmas" bit.
And as he said, I think it's a real great opportunity for people to come out and really celebrate, what he's achieved with the club, and obviously because fans weren't at the Championship games as well. Well, most of them.
That's so true. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Go along, enjoy the Christmas lights and the festive feel and the light switch on, but also turn it into a slightly retro. We've been promoted to the Championship party.
Exactly, because as we've said before, you can't think of many other managers who've been at a club 9 years and can perform on a stage in the way that he can.
No, definitely he is unique in that.
And even if you do try and think of them, it does tickle you quite a bit.
It does, certainly, yes.
I was thinking of Neil Warnock, for example.
Yes, indeed, yes. Now departed from Middlesbrough, but he's not too sad because he has bagged himself a turkey.
It's a nice full circle for the show there.